The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read. Your source for news, politics, sports, and all things trending. Here's your host, Marcus Gentry.
Joe Biden's upset win in Georgia stunned the Republican Party, and now the GOP wants to make sure it maintains control of the Senate by winning the two runoff races in Georgia. The party's biggest opponent in the double runoff there could be apathy. And there is a worry that after weeks of hearing how the election was rigged, that some Republican voters will believe it and stay home.
Grief is a complicated and very powerful emotion. And unfortunately, it's very likely that at some point in your life, you'll go through it.
And welcome to the Daily Read, people. I am Marcus Gentry, your host. Today we're going to talk about grief and the 5 levels of grief. You see, the Trump supporters are going through grief right now. And the most dangerous part of the 5 steps of grief is the anger part. And a lot of these people are angry, they're frustrated, they want to retaliate, much like the people who were angry when Hillary Clinton didn't win. The difference is Hillary Clinton conceded. And when she conceded to the election in 2016, what that did, it calmed everybody down. It allowed people to go through the different stages of grief properly and get it over with. You see, to accept the grief, to accept the loss, you know, Donald Trump should step up and go ahead and concede in this election. If he doesn't, it's going to cause confusion, chaos, and fights might break out. Come here, baby. Good. And the thing about the whole grieving experience is, you know, the anger part is the most dangerous part of this, because anger is causing Donald Trump to act out. Anger is causing Donald Trump to try to stage a coup. The anger stage is going to allow this man to put himself in more jeopardy and in trouble than what he's already doing. Excuse me, baby. Yeah. This is my girlfriend, you guys, Allison. Hey, this is my crowd. But we're gonna go through the different stages during this show. And first of all, before we get started, I'm gonna do my liquor tasting today. You know, I got that old Evan Williams here, and it's eggnog, people. You know, this is the Christmas holidays, and we're gonna try some different brands of eggnog and custard. My girlfriend, she loves the boiled custard. She don't fool with the eggnog too much, but we're gonna try a lot of different brands right up until Christmas, and maybe next week we'll try to find some boiled custard to try on the show. We're gonna sample this out here today. It's thick too. You wanna try it? Go ahead and try it. I'm gonna let her sample it first.
Y'all pray for me.
I take it.
You can have it.
Let me see.
You can have it.
It's actually not that bad. She just don't like eggnog.
I don't.
It does have a cinnamon, too much of a cinnamon taste to it. I've tasted better eggnog, people. I give this about maybe a 7.5 or 8. I can't give it a 9 or nothing like that, because it's just. Let me taste one more time. Yeah, about a 7.5. It's got too much cinnamon in it, but it's okay. So we're going with the Evan Williams Original Southern Eggnog. We're gonna give it a 7.5, people. And that's for our daily our liquor tester.
All right, bye y'all.
Bye, baby. And now back to the show, people. As I was saying before, the GOP and the Republicans, these Trump supporters, are going through what you call grief. They're grieving, people. And every time a major election happens, people are going to grieve because somebody has to lose. The problem is, for decades, our politicians have been gentlemanlike and ladylike about it. They'll step up and say, hey, we lost. Let's all come together as Americans. And what Donald Trump is doing is he knows that he has a lot of charges, lawsuits, and a lot of things that's going to happen to him once he leaves office, as far as legal problems that might bankrupt him and might put him in prison. So basically what he's doing is he's trying to destroy the government, stir up all kinds of problems, and trying to and commit to a coup, first through the judiciary. That didn't work because these judges are going by the law. And when they go into court saying there's voter fraud, when they actually get in court and the judge asks them, is this a fraud case, they say no, because they don't want to follow Trump to prison, lying. So when they actually get in court, they don't mention anything about voter fraud. They start throwing up all of these conspiracy theories that's not working. So then the second time he tried to commit to a coup, he called the legislators from each state. Now, this is something that's supposed to be ethically not able to happen. They're not supposed to allow this to happen, to where he brings the legislators from Michigan and tried to bring the legislators from Pennsylvania to the White House, and my guess is try to convince them to go against the will of their people, which I don't think is going to happen. I don't think the legislators in Pennsylvania or Michigan is going to allow that to happen. So now we have a problem. The third thing he's trying to do is use the military. Now, this is not Russia. Y'all got to understand this, and for all my truck drivers out here, y'all know, whether you on the side of Donald Trump or Joe Biden, this is not Russia. We don't have military coups in this country because the military is not loyal to one person. We don't have kings and queens in this country. We don't have dictators. So the military is not finna go for this. If Donald Trump gives an illegal order for the military to seize power and keep him in office, they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it, people. Let's continue on with this though, because I want you guys to really get the idea of what I'm talking about when I say these people are in grief.
The president is headed to Georgia soon, as well as the vice president. But first, the Republican Party's point person held what became a bit of an airing of grievances today.
Yeah, Jessica, Republicans here are really downplaying this idea that President Trump's most ardent supporters have lost confidence in the electoral process and that they won't show up on January 5th to vote in this very important runoff election. But we keep running into instances where we're at Republican events and you see these supporters voice their concerns about the electoral process. This event today with GOP Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel took an awkward turn. About 20 minutes after she began her remarks about this election, she started fielding questions from people at the event, and they were all about the election in November.
Now, let me explain to you. Let me explain to you guys what's going on. By Donald Trump not conceding to Joe Biden, what they're doing is the people, and they're lying. They keep saying that there's voter fraud. So basically, this is the snake eating itself. They're lying to their supporters about voter fraud So now their supporters can't grieve and move on and accept the fact that Joe Biden won. So since they can't accept the fact Joe Biden won because the politicians aren't allowing them to grieve and go through the stages of grief and move on and accept the loss, their voters are scared to go vote because their voters are thinking that the elections are rigged. So now the Republicans have a problem. They have a major problem. They can't keep maintaining this, because what's going to wind up happening is they've lied to their supporters so much. A lot of their supporters are going to throw up their hands and say, you know what, I'm not even going to vote because my vote don't count. That's what's going to happen. So I'm trying to get you guys to understand how this is playing out. This is getting serious to the point where some of these people are stuck in the disbelief stage of grief and the anger stage of grief. They haven't had time to go through all the 5 stages until they come to the end and accept the loss that Joe Biden put on Donald Trump. Now we finna get into this first commercial break, and when we get back, we're gonna go into detail about the stages of grief and really why Donald Trump should go ahead and concede to Joe Biden and get this over with.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
Me and Bae gon' always be tight, though you not with me every single day and night. Even when they start to acting like a fool, yeah, they loving every single thing you do. You know that they can always be themselves. They love each other more than anybody else. And every day as you see them on YouTube, you know there's not one, it'll always be just two. Two stupid Emily, two stupid Emily, two stupid family. They'll make you scream. It makes me wanna sing. It's a family thing, a family. Two stupid family, stupid family. They'll push your buttons. It makes me wanna cry. It's a family thing, a family. Two stupid family.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back with the Daily Read, and I am your host, Marcus Gentry. Now, for all my people out there who missed the first segment, I am drinking on Evan Williams. It's a original Southern eggnog. We're gonna do taste tests on different eggnogs and custards right up until the Christmas holidays, and I give this one about a 7.5. It got too much cinnamon in it. It's as far as the liquor go, the liquor, you can tell it has a kick to it. But back to the show, people. Donald Trump needs to concede, because right now his voters are going through a sense of anger and disbelief because the Republican Party keeps lying to these people. They keep lying to these people because they don't want to lose their voters. If they go out there and tell their voters the truth, they're going to lose voters. That's why they always say you shouldn't lie to people in the first place. Because the Trump supporters have been lied to so much, to the point where if the Republicans did come out and tell the truth and say, look, the man lost, we got to move on, they're going to lose voters. And it scares these Republicans to death. Let's get into the first parts of the 5 stages of grief.
Let's talk about the first stage of grief, shock and denial. And this is the first reaction that most people have when hearing the news of a devastating loss.
Now, shock and denial. When Donald Trump lost the election, a lot of the Trump supporters, the MAGA hat wearers, the MAGAs out there went crazy. There are viral videos, and I think I've even played a viral video on my show of Trump supporters going absolutely bonkers. These people are nuts. I'm finna play a segment right here about the pastor over a huge evangelical church, and the shock and denial can oftentimes lead you to hysterical laughter, disbelief in reality. And you can tell these people are on a level of Jim Jones, to where even the people in his congregation are laughing hysterically because they're in disbelief. Let's get into this first video.
By completely denying the reality. You might decide to believe that someone's making a practical joke in some cases, or you might even laugh when you hear the news, the way a child laughs in the dark to dispel the fear.
Media said Joe Biden's president. Ha 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 ha
Now, I hope y'all paid close attention to that. You see, this wasn't just white people in that crowd. These were evangelical black folks in the crowd too. And it's a shame, because Donald Trump has proven time and time again he has bigotry in his heart for brown and black people. And this is scary. The hysterical laughter of the shock and denial that Joe Biden won. It's on a whole nother level, people. It's on one of them levels where, and he did this on national TV. Because I think some of his broadcast for his evangelical show is broadcast live on national TV. This is crazy. See, this is how snipers and people who go out and do mass murders, this is the groundwork to set people like that up to go out here and do damage to America. All because of two people, really. Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump. You see, Mitch McConnell can get off of his high horse and march him and some of the top Republicans in the Senate over to the White House and tell Donald Trump, look, you lost. Sit down somewhere. Period. They can do it. But like I said, they've been lying to their voters so long that it's caught up with them. So now they can't, their hands are tied. They're scared. They want to do so, because like I said, not all Republicans are racist. Not all of them. Some of them are just money hungry and power hungry, and they're using the racism and the racists to get to for as an ends to a means. Let's get into stage 2. And like I said, this is probably one of the most dangerous parts of grief. We're going to get into the second part.
Next stage is pain and guilt. Once you get out of this denial phase, the pain's going to hit you with full blast, and it might feel overwhelming at times. It might be very tempting during this stage to try to dull the pain with drugs or alcohol.
Now, I like to put anger as the second stage of guilt of grief. I like to put anger. Some people put guilt and things like that. to be honest with you, all of that comes together as one. Because a lot of people get to drinking, their emotions start getting high, they get to doing drugs because of their grief, and the anger explodes. This is the very stage right now that I think Donald Trump is living in, and he's forcing some of his followers to live in also, because he's not allowing them to move on. He's holding these people hostage with these lies about voter suppression and voter fraud. Get what I'm saying, people? He's holding some of his very own voters. He's holding these people hostage and not letting them, allowing them to grieve and get over the fact that, hey, Donald Trump lost. This is some dangerous stuff. You already had the FBI stop a plot to kidnap the Michigan governor. These men, it was a lot of them too, they had a plan to blow up a bridge to distract the police while they infiltrated the governor's home and kidnapped her and her family, and they were telling what they were going to do with the woman. This is dangerous. And they're doing this because Donald Trump is not conceding and allowing his voters, the people who love him so much, whether it's for good or bad, whatever floats your boat, whatever reason you are attracted to this guy, he's not allowing you to grieve, go through the 5 stages of grief, get it over with, and accept it. And see, that's what Hillary Clinton did. A day after the election, she conceded. She said, okay, it hurts, but, you know, I lost. And it allowed us who voted for her a chance to be still in disbelief, still be angry, but at the same time, hey, we're going to come back the next 4 years, which is what we did. And we're going to make sure we correct this ship. You see, you got to give these people time enough to get over it. You got to give these people time enough to get over their pain and their grief. We're going to go into this next commercial break, and when we get back, we're going to dive into the last 3 stages of grief.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
All right, folks, we're back with the Daily Read, and I'm your host, Marcus Gentry. As we were talking about in the first segment, the 5 stages of grief and how Donald Trump and his administration is not allowing the voters that voted for him the chance to move on, get the grievance over with, and get back to the business of healing America. You see, that's what we need right now. We need a healing in this country because there's a lot of anger out here, and the anger is tied to the grief. And you got literal white nationalists roaming the streets with their flags, their Trump flags and their neo-Nazi flags. They're having rallies. You know, and the thing about it is, these white nationalists and Donald Trump and the GOP, like I said, not all of them are racist, they're feeding off of each other. Okay, they're feeding off of each other. Donald Trump sits at the top of all of this mess. He's a crook, he's a criminal, and he's a con man. He sits at the very top of all of this foolishness that's going on in America. And while he's sitting at the top, he knows once he leaves office January 20th, the state of New York, the district attorney has some charges and investigations waiting on him. So what's happening is he doesn't want to leave office, so he's not allowing his supporters to grieve and move on. He's not allowing his supporters to get out here, cry a little bit, get back with the rest of society, hug each other, and say, okay, y'all won, we're going to try it again in the next 4 years. He's not allowing his supporters to do this. And that's going to cause a great harm to this country because, number one, during the 4 years that Biden is president, you're going to have people probably try to attempt to hurt him or Kamala Harris. You're going to have Trump supporters out here roaming the streets trying to get revenge any way they can. You're going to have all kinds of things happening in this country that shouldn't be allowed to happen or shouldn't happen in the first place because this man doesn't want to go ahead and admit that he lost. Like I said, Hillary Clinton lost. We grieved. And she came out and said, you know what? It's over with. I lost. Let's move on. Donald Trump is not allowing his supporters to move on. Let's go into the third stage of grief. And like I said, their third stage of grief is different from mine. I put anger as the second. Because right after a person is, in the first stage of disbelief, right after disbelief comes the anger. But they have it the opposite. But, we finna get into the anger part.
The next stage is anger and bargaining. Your overwhelming pain takes many forms, and it's very common that people feel powerful, a powerful feeling of anger.
Now see, that powerful sense of anger that these people are feeling is allowing these people to go out here and commit crimes. You got a young white guy, I think he was 16 or 17, went to a whole nother state and killed 2 people. And they just released him on a bond. And this whole anger issue is what the GOP and the Republicans are stuck in. They're stuck in the anger stage of grief, and they're not allowed to move on. And Georgia plays a big part in this because we have 2 Senate runoffs in Georgia. And these runoffs are very important because if the Democrats win those 2 Senate races, we're going to have the presidency, the Senate, and the Congress. That means whatever Joe Biden wants to do, he can do it. But as long as they hold on to the Senate, Joe Biden won't be able to make the moves he needs or feels necessary to straighten this country out when it comes to the coronavirus or when it comes to our daily living, like taxes and things of that nature, including foreign affairs. So what you got going on is the Republicans are keeping their supporters in a sense of limbo and anger. And this is a dangerous game they're playing. Let's move on to the 4th stage of grief.
The next stage is depression and loneliness. All the powerful emotions that follow denial are exhausting, but they represent hope. Strong emotions are one way your pain shows its ugly face. But at some point, the hope fades and you...
This 4th stage right here, the loneliness, the bargaining, and these Trump supporters are not going to get into this stage until after the Senate election in Georgia. You see, what's going to happen is Once the Senate elections happen in Georgia and those senators either win or lose, the Republican Party is going to dump Donald Trump. They're going to dump Donald Trump like they never even knew him. He's already lost the election. He's not going to be able to come back from this, no matter how much he take it to court. There's not going to be a judge that's going to reverse this. He can't commit to a coup, a military coup. This is not Russia, where Russian soldiers are dedicated to Vladimir Putin. This is not Russia. American soldiers give an oath to the Constitution. And the Constitution has already been laid out that on January 20th, the prior president has to leave office. So that means on January 20th, by the Constitution, which is what the military give an oath to, Donald Trump is no longer president. And if he tries anything after that, the military just might lock him up. So all of this that he's trying to do, it's not going to work. And some of his supporters are going to find out real soon after this election happened in Georgia in December, I think it's December 14th. Once the election happened in Georgia and these senators either win or lose, Mitch McConnell and the Republicans are going to dump Donald Trump. Half of them don't like him no way. Because like I said, not all Republicans are racist. Some of these people are just greedy and power hungry. There is a difference. They feed off of each other. You got half of them that are racists and bigots, and the other half that allow the racists and bigots to run rampant through their party because they need them votes to keep power. So now what's finna happen is, if Loeffler, which I think is going to lose. Now the other senator, I think he's going to win his re-election. The other Republican senator, I don't have his name on hand, but the female senator, Loeffler, I think she's going to lose because she got caught up in a scandal where when the coronavirus hit, she was going around telling everybody in America that the coronavirus was a myth, but behind closed doors, she was selling all of her stocks because she had got information through confidential information that the coronavirus was real and it's going to devastate the economy. So she turned around and started selling all of her stocks while she was telling America that there's nothing to see here. So I think she's going to lose. I think the Georgia election is going to be Loeffler loses and the other Senate Republican, I think he's going to win. So what that means for the Senate is Joe Biden is going to have a split Senate, half Republican, half Democrats, which means his vice president pick, which is Kamala Harris, would have to say so in how the votes go. So if any bill gets moved or passed and it's a split in the Senate, Kamala Harris will be the deciding vote. So they're going to find out real soon after this election in Georgia that the Republicans are going to dump. They're going to dump Donald Trump. They're going to get rid of him, like they never even knew him. Matter of fact, Chris Christie has already come out, and you know Chris Christie has been a supporter of Donald Trump since the beginning. He's already come out and said that what he's doing in the courts is embarrassing to the country. You know, trying to fight this election. He even admitted that Hillary Clinton came out and conceded and gave it up. She didn't even keep fighting. So now we finna get into the last stage of grief, which is a long way. It's a long way from where Trump supporters are. They need to be here because we had our opportunity to accept that Donald Trump was president. It hurt a lot of people in 2016. We couldn't believe it, but it happened. And when Hillary Clinton conceded, it allowed her supporters to accept it and move on, whether they didn't like the fact that Trump was president or not. It allowed them to move on. So now what we have is the Trump supporters, the MAGA hat wearers, they're not given an opportunity to accept the loss and move on. So we finna get into this last part of grief. Is called acceptance.
Finally, 5 is acceptance. It's the 5th stage, and maybe, this is the goal. This is the end game here. Accepting your loss does not come in a moment of epiphany. It doesn't work like that. It's a slow and painful process.
And that slow and painful process is not what these people are trying to let these Trump supporters go through. And that's going to lead to 4 years of chaos in this country. You're going to have people running around not believing that the election was fair, even though they have no proof that there was anything rigged about it. You're going to have people committing heinous crimes. We already have a few shooters across the country who have popped up, who have done acts of violence against minorities. You're going to have all kinds of things happening in this country for the next 4 years if the GOP don't stand up and walk over to that White House from the Senate and let Donald Trump know that the jig is up. It's time for him to go. They did it with Nixon. When Nixon went through his scandal and he was going around trying to use the Department of Justice to commit acts and crimes against the Democratic Party, the Republican Party walked over to the White House and told Nixon it's time for him to go. And he retired. He quit. And see, that's what they're going to have to do with Trump. The Republicans are going to have to come over, walk over there to that White House and tell him, hey man, it's over with. But they're not going to do that until after the Georgia Senate races. But it will happen because they don't want this country to go into total chaos, because it's not going to just cause death on the minority side. It's going to be devastating all across this country. So I hope you all have a sense of understanding about this 5 stages of grief. Right now, the GOP, the MAGA hat wearers, the Republican Party, they're going through grief right now. But they're stuck in the dangerous part of grief, which is the anger stage and the disbelief stage. So for all my minorities out there that watch my show, my truck drivers out there, listen to me on iHeartRadio, keep your eyes open and be aware. When you go to the McDonald's, when you go to the Walmart, when you pull up, keep your eyes open, because things are liable to happen anywhere. These people are stuck in a grieving stage that is one of the most dangerous stages of grief that you can imagine. And I've showed clips of funny videos of some of these people melting down on TV. But after the meltdown comes the dangerous part, when they try to do something about it. So this is the Daily Read, and I'm out.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read. Your source for news, politics, sports, and all things trending. Here's your host, Marcus Gentry.